All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Glittery Stars podcast with me, your host, Mike Lantis. Um, I'm very excited to be back here. I apologise I've not done an episode for a little while. And I'm solo in today's episode as I am joined by the lovely Shane Campfield. Obviously, I've said that I'll be having more guests. So, hello, Shane. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm doing pretty well. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. So, for those of you who don't know Shane, I first met Shane earlier this year as I was a guest on his podcast series, Spectrum of Hurdles, and obviously we talked about autism, and obviously talked a lot about my sons and all that. But this time, I'm switching it around, so he's now my guest on our podcast. My previous guest, Sam Mitchell. He same thing with him. I've been on his podcast. And he's now been on mine. Same with Shane. He's been very nicely been waiting for quite a while for us to sort this out, but finally got around to doing it. So Shane, tell us, for those of us that obviously I know you, but for the listeners and watchers and stuff that don't know you, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So I was diagnosed with autism at age 4. And originally, when I was diagnosed, my mom and dad were not too happy about that. But as the years went on, they unfortunately ended up passing away when I was really young. I was 11 when my mom passed away. And then 13 when my dad passed away. And then a family friend did end up taking me in until I graduated. And then ever since I graduated high school, I've been on my own and just doing what I love to do, not letting what my limitations are define me. And I always look for a way to overcome those hurdles each and every day. And by doing so, I have become a photographer, a DJ, and most importantly, an autistic self-advocate.
I love that. I did not. There was a lot of that I did not know about you. So there we go. I mean, I can relate because obviously my dad passed away when I was 7 years old. So I'm very. I did not know that. I was like, oh. Anyway, but obviously then last time I spoke to you, I was just on your podcast, so I'm learning stuff about you. Um. So right. So you were diagnosed at 4. Like I was diagnosed at. Obviously, I know it would have been like a different like time period, but slightly. And obviously, well, different country and stuff. So how well, obviously before you, obviously, your mum and your dad passed away. Unfortunately, obviously, I know the feeling of losing a parent at a young age. How was it for you growing up as an autistic? You're a child, but with autism, how was it for you growing up? Like what from when you were diagnosed as a child and a young person with autism?
Oh man, yeah. Like when I was really young, it was rough. I forgot to mention that I also have ADHD, and we call that odd DHD if you
Yes,
have both
yeah,
autism and
I've heard that
ADHD.
term before.
But I was really hyper back then. I'm not gonna lie, and it was a real struggle. Like I would not even sit down for 30 seconds without going off the chain. But as the years went by, and I got a little bit of help, not much. I slowly but surely started calming down and focusing a lot more on my schoolwork. And there was not many support systems out there, unfortunately. And I live in Orlando. And especially back then, it was close to non existent. But thankfully today, we have decent support systems. Not the best, but we're still working on it.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I really do hope to contribute to that one day and just making these support systems a lot better. And yeah, it was just really rough. And my mom and dad, unfortunately, did not really know how to handle me. Um, the only time that I got sort of proper support was in 5th grade, and I had to switch schools all of a sudden, like almost halfway through the year. And then I was really upset how I I had to say goodbye to most of my elementary school friends early because fifth grade over here is the last year that you have in elementary school. Then after that, you go to middle school. But no, that came really early for me, and it was just very shocking. And I remember throwing a fit about that. No, I don't want to. But yeah, in the long run, it was really helpful because there was more support in the other school, and I'm thankful that they did that.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. Because obviously, I mean, right. So for anyone that's say Shane, obviously, if anyone that knows you that's listening, so how British, and obviously I know, you know, American like school system is different, and I've been on like podcasts before where I've had to explain this, and I'm like, right, so this is how this works, and this is how this works, and then we'll get back to the topic down. So how it, and obviously I know obviously you have like elementary school and like kinder and like grades and all that and middle school. So how it works with 'cause I don't know if you know, I think I probably mentioned this to you when I was on your podcast anyway. But for anyone from America or anything that doesn't really obviously understand the British school system, so we have, so what you sort of like call, I suppose, kindergarten or like preschool. Well, we do have sort of like preschool, and then primary school is from basically ages like 4, 5 till up until about 11 years old. Secondary school, what that we also call high school, is from 11 to 16. College, which is for us college, and then obviously that's sort of for you is like university. So that's from usually from the age of 16 to 18, but it can be like higher up the outlay of like adult courses as well and things like that. And where I am now in university, that like you have to be like 18 obviously up, like, but you can be any basically you can be any age from the age of 18 to be in uni. So that's how that works. Just to clarify. But anyway, so yeah, so no, I understand what you mean because it's like they always sort of like when you're younger, it's like, oh, well, maybe they need to be sent to a, you know. I mean, I know like there's, for example, there's what you like a special needs like school that's round the corner from me, and I've met like lots of like lovely people that have worked there. I've been there, like I went to like mainstream education, and I've seen well, from the sounds of it, you did up until a certain point, and things like that. But no, yeah, it is when you're younger. It's like we sort of look at like, do you keep it like mainstream education, or do you like? And I was told that I'd be okay to stay, in, which I did. And I'm surprised I'm in my last year of university, and I'm like, what? Time flies. Anyway, so so that sounds like really, and I think it's good that you want to be able to like contribute towards the, you know, like obviously getting better education. So what? Well, there's a question then. So what do you think could be done better in? And obviously, you're from so you can obviously say from a US education standpoint. But what do you think could be done better in the US or any education system in general? But like for people with autism and disabilities.
Yeah, now definitely figuring out earlier on what your needs might be, not too early because the brain is still developing, and to, I guess, figure out where you are at that point in time and be like, okay, well, he needs help with, sitting still. Let's maybe try to have someone sit with him or give him constant reminders, either in the mainstream classroom, if that's possible, or if it might be better off for the child to be in special ed. I hate using that word, special ed. But yeah, that definitely has gotten a lot better over the years. But again, it needs some improvement. And by diagnosing earlier on, would be the way to go.
Yeah, I'd definitely say so because it's like obviously like you were saying, like obviously when you were like obviously you were diagnosed at 4, I was diagnosed at like 9, and like you said, like obviously like you, especially nowadays, that you always meet like a lot of say like adults because obviously like you said, up like years ago there wasn't a lot of support, there wasn't a lot known about it, there was just this like thing or like you have a problem or whatever, and it wasn't. And I've met like can't with many like several years ago, but I was at a funeral of all places, but someone that was there, he was in his like early 60s, and he'd only like been like I think a year or so before that had been diagnosed with autism, and then obviously you sort of like look at all these like like celebrities that have like later with like autism, with ADHD, because obviously there's a whole obviously ADHD. Like I've heard that term before. Just like there's a few people that I know that are like both, and things like that. So yeah, so no, yeah. So I think, like I said, better support. Because obviously, like if we, because it is a lot. But obviously, it does take a long. Like you can sometimes have to wait a few years for an official diagnosis, but it is good if you can get it done early. So, in the light of obviously, so we are recording this podcast today on the 6th of November. Where's the time gone? Obviously, yesterday was obviously like bonfire night of in the US, probably called like die forts now, but we call bonfire night. So how has it? Because obviously, like, obviously, like fireworks are lovely and like colourful and like depending like who like some people don't like, especially if you've got a pet or something, you don't like them. But like as an autistic person, obviously no, but like both adults, but like, do you like fireworks as an artist, or like do you find them like the overwhelming? Like, what's your opinion?
Ooh, now I do love fireworks, and to be honest, I am one. My personality.
There we go. I was right. Okay, I'll give you that.
But yeah, I don't mind fireworks. I'm born in July, and I'm considered a Cancer, and we like all things beautiful, everything that looks good and is very attractive, all that fun stuff. And yeah, I do love fireworks. Not something that I would want to see constantly because it can get overwhelming after a certain amount of time. But I don't mind it. It doesn't really bother me too much, and unfortunately, I do have my fair share of friends to where they can't really be around that type of environment, or they have to have earplugs with them because even a neurotypical, they can get really loud. Same thing with being at a rock concert, like being front row or just being like in that same room. You got to wear earplugs anyway. But there are those on the spectrum, including me, who love that type of environment. So you just never know.
That's true, because no, there is a good mix of people like that's what I mean. Yeah, I think if it's constantly like I don't mind fireworks as much as I feel like I'm not saying like everyone does this, but I feel like especially like I've noticed the past few years, some people love it to like do it. Some people do it like 2 weeks early, and it'll be doing or like some people do it like for like especially like near where I live and like across like where I go across like sort of England, like like last week, the week before fireworks, and it's like and like and it's obviously I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with, and obviously with you being born in July and obviously being in America, obviously you get the 4th of July and fireworks, which I'm sure obviously great for you. But yeah, like you said, obviously they're lovely and beautiful, but like if they're a bit that go on and on, that's where it gets overwhelmed. And then sometimes when it's not even I don't know if you've ever seen this, but like I don't know why, but like you're like people set off fireworks when it's not even like bonfire night or New Year's or 4th of July or anything, and you'll just sit like or sometimes like during the day like random times a year you'll just hear like fire, and I'm like, what? Why is the fire? And it's like, where do you even get it from? Because it's like I don't know. Anyway, so obviously, as we said earlier in this podcast episode, the way I met Shane was through obviously like Facebook and all that, and obviously I ended up being on your like obviously your podcast. So tell me, how did you like start doing the spectrum of hurdles and all that? How did that come together, and obviously to what it is today with your podcast?
Oh, I love that question. Thank you for asking that.
No.
So, back when my business partner, Ed, and I first started Hurdle, we were just doing local speaking engagements in the Orlando area. And then we're both like, okay, well, how do we reach more people if we're not getting too many of these speaking gigs? Because it was going pretty well for a few months, but then it just really dipped. And we kind of used up all our resources, and we're like, okay, well, why not make a YouTube channel and interview different people? And then we were kind of really on the fence about it. We're like, oh yeah, it's a commitment. How are we going to structure it, et cetera, et cetera. And then we did another presentation at a conference, and then a random question that we had, or not really a question, but it was like a suggestion. Oh, why don't you guys start your own YouTube channel where you interview different people and how they overcome their hurdles, like having autism, cerebral palsy, anything you name it. And then, I took that as a sign of confirmation. Okay, we have to do this then. And then sure enough, bam, there it was. And then ever since, we've tried to do it, and it's kind of hard with our schedules and work and everything else that we have going on, life pretty much.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've recorded about, oh my God, maybe 40 episodes now at this point. And we're still trying to post them, and we are so backlogged, to be honest. And I'm trying to learn how to do all the editing myself now, because originally it was a friend of ours who did all the editing and the theme song, putting everything together, running it by us, all that fun stuff. But now it's gotten to where I have more stuff that I personally want to do with my photography and my video stuff. And it's like, okay, well, now is going to be the time to where if we want to keep things really going, then I have to start doing all this. And I don't mind, and I'm excited to this next chapter.
That sounds really good. That I didn't know there'd be like 40 episodes. No, because I think it's good what you do. Because I like obviously that's how obviously I talk came to us. So obviously I was on your podcast. And obviously, guys, if you want to watch that's on the Hurdle channel from earlier this year, just search up my Clanton interview, it'll come up. No, but I from what I remember, because I mean it was a little while ago. But like from what I remember, I really enjoyed it. It was great to meet you, and obviously you co-host, and it was just like a fun interview. It was nice, obviously, got to meet some new people. Obviously, you're autistic yourself, so it was just always great to meet someone else who's neurodiverse and things like that. And no, but I really enjoyed myself when I was on your podcast, and I found it really enjoyable. And I really appreciate you obviously coming on, obviously mine as well. So, before we started actually recording, we were having a little brief catch up because obviously it's been a little while, and obviously you mentioned that you're obviously living by yourself now. So how are you finding that? Because obviously with that, obviously I know you said you live with your parents, and obviously then you live with roommates and things like that. So obviously you're very independent now. If anyone that knows you, we know you're very independent anyway. But how is it for you living by yourself? Obviously it will probably, I'm guessing at some points being overwhelming or start trying, but obviously once you get used to it, but how has it been for you?
Yeah, great question. I love that. Yeah, my entire life I've pretty much had either a roommate or I lived with I don't want to say supervisor. I want to say supervisor, like a parental figure, sort of.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it wasn't until a few months ago to where I started living on my own. Like I've technically been on my own since 18, and then I was in a group home a little bit, and then I left there, and then my previous place I lived at for 10 plus years, close to downtown Orlando, and I've had different roommates, but now it's okay, it feels good, I love it, but to be honest, it's kind of lonely, and I know that I'll get over that, and I don't really mind doing stuff by myself, but now it's every day, there's not another person around, and on top of that, there's more bills, unfortunately, because before the rent was kind of split, and now it's well, everything is now on me, and that's part of adulting and growing up. And I just turned 30 this year, and like I said before in the last question, it's a whole new chapter for me. So who knows what the road has for me ahead, but I think it's going to be something good.
Exactly. Has it? No, because obviously the thing it's like a new challenge. Like for me, God, I remember last year at university, I'm like, well, but everyone's like, oh, you're doing a job and all this when you're gonna, and I'll get some acting work. But that's true. It's true. Like like you sort of like you said. And obviously, it will be lonely at first. And I still live at home, so I can't really say that. But like, no, I know what you mean. Because obviously, like, it will be difficult. And like no matter what age that when you obviously like when you live by yourself for the first time and yeah exactly and obviously it will be lonely so and there's obviously like well obviously it would be for anyone but I think for for neurodiverse person as well, it will be like daunting because obviously you probably like to have it's obviously the change and obviously like you might have like when you had roommates or when you were like at home like you have like well, obviously I still live at home so obviously like you've got that sense of routine but then you're in your own place it's like oh I've got to make a new routine now and it's all these other things like you said obviously like with bills and things you've got to think about so that can be like quite not well. Probably at first it is a bit daunting, but obviously, like you said, you've got used to it, um, with the financial stuff, which I think is good. And obviously, yeah, it will be lonely, but like you said, we get over it. Is there any advice that you would have for anyone listening that has, like I said, autism, ADHD, any other disability, or like the medical condition? Like, is there any like words of wisdom or advice you have for people who are watching or listening?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say never let anybody kind of tell you what to do. I don't mean that in like disobey authority, but as in if you want to do something, by all means do it. At the same time, know your limitations in a way, but don't really let all that define you. Overcome your hurdles, but don't do too much if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, if you want to become in my case, an entrepreneur, don't listen to the negativity, all the different comments. And the same thing goes for even the positive comments. So on a few of my not YouTube videos, Facebook videos, because I make reels a lot, and one of them got like 1 million something views just for like recording. Oh my gosh, who was it? I think the guy from Led Zeppelin, if I'm not mistaken, whoever that singer is.
Oh.
Yeah. Robert Plant, that's right.
Yeah.
And there was just so many different comments on there that were kind of against me, but mainly against him because he wasn't really being the nicest person, unfortunately. But that's not the point to why I made the video. It was just to have the experience, and if I wasn't going to get an autograph or a picture, I'll just at least have that video. And I just posted it, and bam, it went everywhere. I'm like, why is that? Okay.
I know.
But it's like, yeah, don't read like don't listen to any of the comments because if it's positive, um, that's great and all, but at the same time, it might inflate the ego a bit if that makes sense. And it's kind of weird. Like I was always told, don't ever like read the comments or listen to what other people say, but to a point, I have started looking at them, and it's like, okay, if they're saying something bad, obviously you want to ignore that. But if it's good, just some people, unfortunately, may not be telling you the truth. Like in person, they're like, oh, yeah, you're really good at this, and that. And they might be saying that to kind of make you feel good, even though they may not really mean that, at least in my experience. So that's why it's like, all right, if I'm happy with what I'm doing and I'm happy with how this, and that turned out, then by all means, I succeeded, regardless of what everybody else thinks. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. No, I think that's some good advice. Exactly, because I like something I obviously don't from that. Like I like this thing as an actor and a singer. Like I will ask I want, I want feedback. But like you said, you got to know the nerves. Obviously, if you ask for feedback, that's great. If you don't ask, like if we didn't ask for it, don't ask for it. And it's, I know that's, like you get like a video of them all. It's like I did TikTok actually, earlier this year, and I've not even like posted it on any other social medias, but like it's got like is it what like so many, like a few thousand likes and like so many like thousand reviews, and it was like no random thing. It was about like this drink from McDonald's. I was like, how did that blow up? That was so weird. But like I know what you mean. It's like you never know what people are gonna say and things like that. And obviously, like online social media. No, but yeah, but exactly. So, just to finish off, would you please tell everybody where they can find you on like social media and obviously your podcasts and things like that?
Sure, absolutely. If you're interested in my work with Hurdle, find us on Facebook, Hurdle, and Hurdle is acronym, by the way, for hard work, understanding, realization, determination, leadership, and education. So it's just under Hurdle on Facebook. It's going to be the white icon in rainbow looking colors. You can't miss that one. And then for YouTube, it's under Spectrum of Hurdles. That is our podcast where we interview different people. Now, if you side of the tracks with the other work I do with photography and my DJ work, et cetera, that is under Shane's World 76 on Instagram, and I believe Shane's World 1 on TikTok. I'm going to try to make both of those like the same thing, so that way it's not like one number here, another number over there.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the general concept. Yeah, it's called Shane's World. So you can't forget that one.
Well, anyway, thank you. I mean, obviously, guys, please, please don't follow and support Shane. And like I said, obviously, when I was on his podcast, that episode obviously available, obviously on the Spectrum of Hurdles. So please don't watch and listen to that as well because it was a great episode. I love being on it. Anyway, Shane, thank you so much for coming on. Obviously, it took some time, but we got there eventually. But thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. And thank you again for having me. And yeah, we'll be in touch.
Yes, right.